It was a heartbreaking ending to what was really an unbelievable journey for the Philadelphia Eagles in the 2022-23 NFL season, a season that I think a lot of people would have considered the Philadelphia Eagles' best chance to win a Super Bowl, as their roster was completely loaded. But now with the Super Bowl loss, there's a lot of uncertainty heading into the offseason. The Eagles have a lot of free agents. They already have some news that they lost both of their offensive and defensive coordinators. I think from the outside looking in, there's plenty of reasons to be nervous about the Philadelphia Eagles moving forward. But on the other hand, there's also a lot of reasons to be optimistic. Now, I don't think the Super Bowl loss is the end for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think this season was the beginning of something special moving forward for this team, and I really think that they have a bright future ahead of them. But we're going to talk all about why in this video. Before we do that, make sure you go subscribe to this channel for more consistent Philadelphia Eagles content coming throughout the offseason. You're not going to want to miss any of it, so make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. And with that being said, let's get into the video. So obviously the Eagles are coming off an extremely difficult loss to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl by a final score of 38-35, and what was really one of the best Super Bowls we've had in recent memory, and maybe of all time. But it just sucks the Eagles weren't able to come out with the victory. And there were really multiple reasons why the Eagles weren't able to get it done in this game. I think the main one being that they weren't really able to get any sort of pressure on Patrick Mahomes for the majority of the game, and he was just able to sit back and read the defense. And they also weren't able to stop the Chiefs' rushing attack. And in the second half, the Philadelphia Eagles defense wasn't even able to stop the Chiefs' offense one time on any single possession. And of course, it all culminated at the very end in that controversial holding call on James Bradberry on Juju Smith-Schuster. But ultimately, that's not the reason why they lost the game. There was a lot they could have done to prevent themselves from being in that position in the first place. And at the end of the day, the Chiefs prevented another Eagles Super Bowl victory, and Patrick Mahomes got his second ring. And now just like that, here we are in the offseason. And the Eagles, like I said, have a lot of uncertainty headed into it. Last offseason, the Eagles were able to assemble a very talented roster, but something unfortunate about it is a lot of the players that the Eagles were able to go get and already had on their roster to begin with were free agents after this season. Now we have to face that problem, as the Eagles currently have 20 free agents heading into this offseason. That's a big portion of the roster, and it's a lot of key players, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that the Eagles run the risk of losing this offseason. And the Eagles also have to face the reality that their franchise quarterback, Jalen Hurts, is due for a big payday this offseason. He's now eligible for a big extension, and the Eagles, one of their main priorities in this offseason is going to be to get that done. And of course, once you pay your quarterback a large amount of money, it then leaves less money to pay other players in free agency. And for the Eagles, who have 20 free agents currently, gives them less money to re-sign those free agents. They've already lost their offensive and defensive coordinators this offseason in Shane Steichen going to the Indianapolis Colts to be their new head coach, and their defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon, as he will now be the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. You know, after the Eagles Super Bowl loss and people seeing that they have all these free agents and all these problems they have to deal with in this offseason, I think there's a good portion of people and NFL fans that believe the Eagles might suffer a potential Super Bowl hangover, and people might expect the Eagles to take a step back next season. But personally, I don't expect a step back at all from the Philadelphia Eagles. And in fact, I think there are multiple reasons why we should be optimistic about the Philadelphia Eagles' future. I think they're going to be successful not just next season, but for years to come after that. And there's multiple reasons for this. And I'll start with number one, the very obvious one. The Eagles have found their franchise quarterback in Jalen Hurts. Obviously, heading into this season, he was the big question mark for the Philadelphia Eagles. He answered every question everybody had about him. He proved everyone who doubted him wrong this past season. He's become one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL in a short amount of time, and he was able to improve himself from a player that people didn't look at very highly to now one of the brightest young stars in the entire NFL. He turned himself into a great pocket passer. One of the things that people questioned about Jalen Hurts was whether he could consistently and accurately deliver the ball from the pocket. He answered all those questions. In one offseason, he became one of the best pocket passers in the NFL statistically. This season, he was MVP caliber for the Philadelphia Eagles. He actually received an MVP vote. Probably should have been more. I think if he had stayed healthy, he had a very good chance of winning the award, and obviously it did go to Patrick Mahomes. Congratulations to him. But I think Jalen Hurts was very deserving of this award as well, and he's also the perfect leader for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think his intangibles are what make Jalen Hurts so special. I think he has the ability to affect other people and to motivate others, and his work ethic is also unmatched. Nick Sirianni spoke on this not too long ago, and he said that you don't really know how good Jalen Hurts is going to be just because his work ethic is so good that he's going to continue to try to improve himself and become the best possible player he can be. And he's going to work extremely hard to make sure he accomplishes that. So you don't really know how good he can become, because I don't think you can really put a ceiling on it, because he's going to always push to become better no matter what he does. And I think that's something that's really special. And I think that's a quality that some of the greats of the NFL possess, and Jalen Hurts for sure has that quality. And if you want to talk about great individual performances, go look back at the Super Bowl. I think Jalen Hurts potentially had the best game of his entire career in the Super Bowl. He threw for over 300 yards. He rushed for 70 yards. He had 4 total touchdowns. That was one of the greatest individual Super Bowl performances I think we've ever seen. A lot of people were saying that. I don't think it's that crazy to say that Jalen Hurts had one of the greatest individual performances in a Super Bowl we have ever seen. And it just sucks the Eagles weren't able to get the win, because had they won, he would have definitely won Super Bowl MVP. And you got to keep in mind, this was only his second full season as the Philadelphia Eagles starting quarterback. And he showed up on the biggest stage already in just the second year of his career. He's only going to get better from here. He's turned himself into one of the NFL's brightest young stars. And now, after proving himself to be the Eagles franchise quarterback moving forward, he has a huge extension in his future. So one of their main priorities this offseason will probably be to sign Jalen Hurts to a large contract extension. And Adam Schefter is reporting that it could start at north of $45 million per season. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this contract extension moving forward, but Hurts has definitely proven himself to be one of the best players in the NFL and very deserving of this contract extension that he's going to get. And of course, having him is just one reason for optimism for the Philadelphia Eagles moving forward. When you have a player that's as big of a game changer, as big of a difference maker as Jalen Hurts is, as good of a leader as he is, just everything that he brings to the table, that bodes well for your franchise moving forward. But Jalen Hurts is just the headliner of a great young core that the Philadelphia Eagles have. And they got plenty of young players that are very, very good, that are going to be here for a very long time. Starting with A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown has turned himself into one of the best receivers in the NFL. He was already one of the best receivers in the league before he got to the Philadelphia Eagles, but now for sure, he is probably a top 5 receiver in the league after this season that he just had. He had a career year this year, putting up 1,496 receiving yards in the regular season. That's the most by any Philadelphia Eagle in a single season in franchise history. He's a big physical receiver. He can go up and get a jump ball. He's a great deep threat, and he has great chemistry with Jalen Hurts. They're very close friends, and A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts have both benefited from having each other on the same team. And A.J. Brown is just a big difference maker for the Philadelphia Eagles offense, and they have him locked up for 4 more seasons to come after signing him to a big extension just after trading for him last offseason from the Tennessee Titans. So he's going to be here for a long time. And A.J. Brown's just one of the incredible young pass catchers that the Eagles have on their team. The second one being Devonta Smith, who the Eagles selected 10th overall in the 2021 NFL Draft. And he has become one of the best number 2 receivers in the league, if not the best number 2 receiver in the league. He definitely could be a number 1 wide receiver, but with having A.J. Brown, he sits at the team's second best wide receiver. And he was also incredible this season. He set a Philadelphia Eagles single season record for receptions in a single season by a wide receiver at 95. Devonta Smith has an incredible skill set. I think personally he has some of the best hands in the league. He's got great body control. He's able to make a catch on the sideline and get both feet in bounds pretty routinely. And he's also a great route runner and a good deep threat as well. And he also has very good chemistry with Jalen Hurts. Devonta Smith is going to be here for another 2 seasons. He'll probably get another extension after that to stay with the Eagles for a long time. So there's another young player the Philadelphia Eagles have to build around on the offensive side of the ball. And the Eagles also have a third very talented pass catcher that's going to be with them for a while now in Dallas Goedert. He's turned himself into one of the best tight ends in football. He's been improving every single year. Obviously, the Eagles, when they ended up trading Zach Ertz to the Arizona Cardinals, Dallas Goedert was able to take a big leap as the team's new number 1 tight end. He has a great skill set, and he's a great safety blanket for Jalen Hurts. You saw in the Super Bowl, he was able to make a bunch of contested catches, and he's just very, very talented. He's very good after the catch, and he's able to use his body to go up and get a jump ball, and he's just a very, very talented young player and a very good tight end in this league, and he's going to be good for years to come. And the Philadelphia Eagles have him wrapped up for 4 years. So on the offensive side of the ball there, you see a very talented group of skill position players that the Eagles have and will have for a very long time. And in addition to Jalen Hurts, after getting the extension this offseason, he'll be wrapped up for a very long time as well. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you also have a player in Haason Reddick, who he's wrapped up for 2 more seasons after this one. And he has turned himself into one of the best pass rushers in the entire NFL, obviously having 16.5 sacks this past regular season, which was tied for 2nd in the entire league. And he loves being in Philly. He's from this area, and I'm sure after these 2 seasons are up, I'm sure he'll want to try to stay in Philadelphia. The Eagles also have a bunch of other young guys on this roster that are going to be here for a while too. The Philadelphia Eagles have a very good core of young players that are going to be here for the foreseeable future, and that's just one reason to be optimistic about their future. But don't worry, I know what you're thinking. I know what you guys are going to say. You're going to be like, sure, you got all these young guys, but you're also going to lose a bunch of players in free agency the talent on your roster is going to significantly decrease, and there's no possible way after paying Jalen Hurts this big contract extension that you're going to be able to build a roster nearly as good as you built this year. Well, I think you're forgetting something. We have the man himself working in our front office, and probably the best GM in all of sports right now, and his name is Howie Roseman. And moving into this offseason, yes, Howie Roseman does have a lot of work to do. You got free agency coming up with all the free agents the Eagles have that they're going to want to re-sign in addition to getting new players. You have the draft upcoming, and of course, you have one of your top priorities this offseason, making sure you sign Jalen Hurts to an extension and making sure that this extension doesn't hurt the Philadelphia Eagles' chances of going out and getting other talent to fill out this roster moving forward. So I think that there's a way that Howie Roseman can structure this Jalen Hurts extension so that it doesn't hurt the team too badly in their attempts to go build another very talented roster moving forward into this season and for years to come as well. And the first thing that they can do is they can structure it to where the extension part doesn't kick in until after this next season. You might pay him a big signing bonus this season, but you would structure it in that way so it doesn't hurt against the cap, so the Eagles have at least this season where they can go out and re-sign a bunch of their guys. And I think you could also structure this contract to where it's over a very long period of time, kind of like how Patrick Mahomes did it over a 10-year period, because then as time goes on, you don't have to consistently re-sign Jalen Hurts to other contracts, which then the value for quarterbacks would go up and up and up. So you don't have to keep up with that because you would just have him on this extremely long-term deal. He'd be here for 10 more seasons without you having to re-sign him. So I think that's something they could do as long as Jalen Hurts would be willing to do that, which I think he would be. And you could also do it in a way where you could restructure it. As Howie Roseman is the king of restructuring contracts and creating cap space by doing that and turning, salaries into signing bonuses and just creating additional cap space down the road so they can get all these other pieces. He's done it for years now, and you could do that with Jalen Hurts' contract as long as you have it over this long period of time. You could do it in a way where you could consistently restructure the contract to continuously open up more cap space to sign more players. And currently, the Eagles have $8 million in cap space as of now, but they could open up $25 million more in salary cap space if they restructure Darius Slay, Lane Johnson, and Jake Elliott's contracts. So that's something else Howie Roseman could do, and I'm sure he will attempt to do because that's what he's done his entire career as the Philadelphia Eagles GM, is restructure contracts to create cap space. And just after I finished recording this video, Howie Roseman's already doing his thing. He was able to create $2.4 million in cap space for the 2023 season by giving Jason Kelce a couple bonuses, which only further proves my point that I'm not concerned about the cap at all. I think Howie Roseman's going to do a great job of creating a good amount of cap space this upcoming season. In total, they will have then $33 million of cap space to re-sign free agents and do all the things that they need to do. And we're going to talk all about which free agents the Eagles should re-sign and which guys they should go get in free agency coming up in the future. So again, make sure you go subscribe so you don't miss those videos in the future. And of course, Howie Roseman is just a wizard in all aspects of making moves and improving the roster. You never know, he could go out and make a big trade here, a good sign in there. You don't know what he's going to do, but I have pure faith in Howie Roseman that he's going to go out because he knows the Eagles are in win now mode. He's going to give it everything he has and go out and attempt to build the best possible roster. And he has the tools to do it. He has the brain to do it. He's probably the smartest GM in football. And of course, something else that I don't think a lot of people are talking about with the Philadelphia Eagles after this Super Bowl loss is that they have 2 first-round draft picks in this upcoming draft in April, and one of their draft picks is number 10 overall, so they could get a lot of value there. So say they do lose a couple key guys in free agency, but you can go out and fill some of the holes you may have on your roster after this free agency period by getting guys in the draft. And they could also take those draft picks, make some trades, do what they need to do. They could do a whole bunch of things, and Howie Roseman, I'm sure, will make the right decisions. So yes, obviously there are the concerns of us losing players in free agency, and yeah, we will lose some guys in free agency, but I think ultimately we're going to be okay because as long as the Eagles approach this offseason and execute throughout this offseason correctly, they will be just fine from a talent perspective moving forward in the future. And Howie's going to shock everybody just like he did last offseason. You're going to be like, wait a second, how did they re-sign him and him and him, and how did they get him, and how did they get this guy? And someone else I have faith in is Nick Sirianni. Again, I've said this probably a million times at this point on the channel. I think he's the perfect coach for the Eagles. I think he's a great leader, and I have faith that him, Howie Roseman, all these guys are going to be able to go out and find the perfect replacements for the losses of Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon on those coordinator positions. The other reason I see the Eagles having success this season and moving forward is you got to look at who they have to compete against. Look in the NFC. There's not that many teams that I look at and I see as a legitimate threat to the Philadelphia Eagles as long as they're able to get through this offseason and make some good decisions. I mean, you have the San Francisco 49ers. They're a good team. I think they're probably the biggest threat to the Eagles. You have the Dallas Cowboys who, you know, you never know what you're going to get with them. They've been consistently good but not great over these past few seasons. Dak Prescott's not been great. So you don't know what's going on with them. And I don't really see any other teams as legitimate threats to the Eagles moving forward in the NFC. You know, overall, I think moving into this offseason, you have to look at the Philadelphia Eagles and see them as a team that has an extremely bright future. They have a great young core of players. They have the best GM in sports. We're going to bring some key guys back. We're going to add some new guys. We're going to get some new guys in the draft. And then the positive leadership of Nick Sirianni and just the success he's had in this short amount of time gives me confidence to say that I think he'll continue to have that success moving forward in the future. And I think it's for all these reasons that the Eagles have an extremely bright future ahead of them, no matter what people may say. People may look at this video and completely disagree with me, and that's okay, but I really do think the Eagles have a bright future ahead of them, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do next season. But that's pretty much all I got for this video, guys, so let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. And if you want to watch another video covering the Eagles, you can go watch this video right here. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for more consistent Philadelphia Eagles content. Drop a like on this video to help push it out to other people. And with that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this video. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.